The GEWA G9 is one of the newest and most promising looking electronic drum kits on the market right now. Here is everything you need to know about it. You might have already seen the GEWA G9 with some major artists like Eric Moore, Jost Nickel or Domino Santantonio. Let's have a look what it's capable of. The two most outstanding features that get into your eye straight away are the special designed cymbals and the module with the touchpad. But before we get into the technical details, the module and the sound of the kit, let's talk about the pads and the kit itself. Right here we have the GEWA G9 L6. So we have 6 drums, 4 toms, 10, 12, another 12-inch tom and a 14-inch tom, a 14-inch snare and an 18-inch bass drum. All pads up here are 2-zone pads, so you have the chance to trigger different sounds with the head and with the rim. The kit is completed by 2 14-inch crash pads, both 2-zone pads, so you have the bow is 1 zone and the edge is the other one. The ride is 18 inches and has 3 zones, so a bell, a bow and the edge. And the hi-hat, also 3-zone pad, is also 14 inches. The finish we got here is the walnut finish. And when GEWA introduced the G9 to the market, they had 2 finishes available, the walnut finish and a carbon finish. But right now they added 3 more finishes to their lineup, a green sparkle, a silver sparkle and a natural maple finish. While this is the L6, you also have the option to purchase the L5, which is just 1 tom less, so you get 3 toms, a snare, a bass drum and the cymbals. And also now they introduced more sizes with the pads, so now they also have, instead of those shallow toms, they have regular sized toms and also a 20-inch kick drum. So while this kit already looks and feels a lot like an acoustic drum kit, having regular sized toms, a floor tom with legs and also a 20-inch kick drum will make your playing experience a lot better and get you closer to an acoustic kit. What also stands out are the cymbals with the special design on top. It's a unique design and it stands out a lot. With the toms we have 2 mesh heads, one on top, one on the bottom, so it's just like regular drums. Double ply mesh heads, they seem to be pretty durable, made by Remo, so they will last a while and I don't think that they will break at any point. And just from playing it, looking at it, it looks very, very well built. The quality is pretty good and there are just no issues when it comes to hardware at all. It looks good, it feels good, it's fun to set up. The hardware is just regular hardware. You can purchase it with stands, just like a regular drum kit. And also they have the option of a drum rack. Comes closer to the classical electronic drum kit look, but you have to decide what you prefer. I personally like the stands a lot more. It's more flexible. But if you prefer the rack version, this is available as well. Now let's get into the sound of the G9. With the module you get 40 pre-installed drum kits. You then have the chance to create your own user kits using the samples that are already pre-installed on the module, or also your own sounds that you load into the module. You also have the chance to connect the G9 to Wi-Fi, to the internet, and download additional sounds from their store. With the 40 pre-installed kits, you get drum kits from acoustic sounding kits like the Collectors or the American Vintage, through electronic sounding kits, all the way to percussion and world music sounds. Let's have a quick listen to some of the kits pre-installed on the G9. So now that we've talked about the hardware, the pads, the cymbals, and also the stands, and also now that you've heard the kit, let's now dive deeper into the module itself. First, let's have a look at the connectivity options with the G9. When it comes to audio outputs, you get a stereo XLR output, an additional monitor out with 2 large jacks, and 8 additional direct outputs. You can route whatever drums you want to whatever output, but we'll come to that later on. On the bottom, you get all the inputs from the pads. And besides the ones that we've attached now, you have the chance to bring in 3 auxiliary pads, for example, a second bass drum, a 5th tom, a second snare, and you also got the chance to add a foot switch. In the front, you've got the headphone output and also a USB port. For example, if you want to import your sound files or for software updates or whatever. In the back, besides the audio outputs, you also have a MIDI in and MIDI out and also a USB port for MIDI use as well. So if you want to use the G9 to trigger sounds in your DAW, or if you want to use it to record MIDI files in your DAW, that's all possible. Additional to the physical in and outputs, you also have the chance to connect your mobile device via Bluetooth. So if you want to play to your favorite music, for example, simply connect your smartphone via Bluetooth and you can do that. And also you have a Wi-Fi module built in here, so you can connect the G9 directly to the internet. So for software updates or to download additional sounds, this can all be done right in the G9 and you don't need a computer or any other device for that. Now let's have a closer look at the G9 itself and what it's capable of. The first thing that sticks out if you compare the G9 to other drum modules is that it has a touchscreen and that there are not that many buttons and knobs around. You only have 4 knobs, and those are the red one, which is the master volume, and also if you press it, it's the only one that you can press. It's your home button, so no matter where you are, you always end up in the home screen. Then you have the headphone volume. And this one, you can switch between the mix input, that is either the mix in, a stereo jack in the back, where you can connect a smartphone or whatever you want to connect to it, or it's your audio source from the Bluetooth. And you can switch it to the monitor output, and then you have the monitor volume here. And the top one is the tempo of your metronome. Those are the only knobs. And then there's the on and off button, but that's it. The rest is all touchscreen. And right in your start screen, you can see your drum kit. If you want to check, for example, the snare sound, you can also touch it. Then you have your metronome down here. If you want to add an accent on one, you can do it here. And you have direct access to the mixer, where you can adjust the volume of all the individual pads. Or you can group, for example, the cymbals and adjust the volume of the whole group. Also on the start screen, you have the chance to switch between drum kits. Or if you double tap, you can go through the whole list of kits and collect the one that you want. In the top corner here, what you see here is the option to switch between the mode of the second zone of your snare drum. So if you want it to be a cross-stick sound, a rimshot sound, or if you want to have a crossfade mode where depending on the volume that you hit the rim with, it switches between cross-stick and rimshot. This works well sometimes, but I would always go for either the rim click or the rimshot. Now let's have a quick look at the menu. What you can see right away is that you have a lot of options when it comes to dialing in the sound you want. When I got the G9 in my hands the first time, I was a little overwhelmed by all the possibilities you have and all the knobs and menus, and it's just a lot. And if you're not familiar with some of the terms, it might take a while to get used to all the options. But once you get this done and once you're firm with what it does, you have a lot of options to customize your sound. So I don't want to go too much into detail with all of this, so let's just quickly go through the menus you have here. The first one is the performance mode menu, where once again you can switch between the kits. You have here, you see which pad you're hitting. You have the chance to once again switch to the mixer. You have your song player, you can load songs into your module. And down here you have the metronome section where you can just set up your metronome. So the second menu is the kit editor. What you can do here is, for example, if you have a tom pad, you can switch between the rim and the head sound. You can choose the sound that you want from all the sounds you have on your module. And then you can fine-tune the sound with panning, volume, ambience, tuning, whatever. So there's a lot of options to customize the sound. And in the end, you also have a 3-band equalizer and a compressor. Next up is the effects section. And here you have 4 effects. First, called ambience samples, you can turn it on and off. The second one is a reverb. Third one also a reverb, and the fourth is a multi effect. So for example, you have the chance to send different signals into the different reverbs. So if you want to have the first reverb only on the snare drum, you could bring down all the other signals and have only the snare, use this reverb, and use the second one for all other instruments except the snare. Then you have some presets right here. You can switch between different plates, different rooms, halls, whatever. And then you have the chance to customize the reverb as well. Down here, right now it's set to a delay, you have a wah-wah, distortion, whatever. As you can see, there are a lot of options to customize your sound. Once again, if you're not familiar with what it says, what all those settings are, might be overwhelming. But if you really want to go deep into all those things, you have a lot of options here. Fourth menu, trigger settings. You can, for example, select what trigger you have. So if, for example, if you use the additional aux inputs and you connect an additional tom pad, you can select what model of tom pad it is. And then you can also select how sensitive you want it to be. You could change the trigger curve, the way that you want it to react. And once again, there are a lot of different options right here. For example, if you use the hi-hat, you also have the chance to do your hi-hat calibration here, where you can see here it's done and the hi detects whether it's open or closed, and this also works pretty well. You really have to spend some time setting everything up so that it feels the way that you want it to feel, but I guess every player is different, so spending some time on setting up your trigger settings, checking out how sensitive you want to have your cymbals, how sensitive you want to have your drums, where you want them to peak, so when do you want the maximum volume, how hard do you want to hit the pads until they really open up. That's something that's very up to you. But you can set all of those things up in this menu. Then you have the general settings. So for example, up here it's routing, you have your master out, direct output, digital out, and also you have the routing options for the drums. So you can route whatever drum signals you want to whatever output you want. You can also switch the 8 direct outputs from mono to stereo. So for example, if I want to have the kick drum on 1, the snare on 2, and my cymbals on 3, that's no problem at all. And now I can send those out to a front of house technician or whatever, and they get separate signals and can mix the drums the way they want. Also, if you want to do a recording and record all the tracks separately, that's no problem, and it's done in actually no time. You also have the chance to have some presets. So once you've dialed that in, you can save it and you can reload it in also no time. Then once again you have an EQ for your master channel and also a compressor. You have the same for your headphone monitor output. And here is the foot switch. MIDI settings, there's a lot you can do, so let me not get into everything. Down here, this is maybe the general settings like doing updates, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, connectivity stuff. And now let's go to the last menu, the tools menu. And this on-stage mode we have here is actually a really cool feature, because when you're on stage and you have a touchscreen, it might need too long to switch between the kits. But with this menu, you can have 8 presets with a tempo. You could also have a song loaded in here, or if you're playing with a backing track, just load the backing track up to your song section here. You can customize it all. You can also change the kit. So for example, I want the Funky Town kit with slot number 1. You could also bring in a PDF. So for example, if you have your sheets, you can display the sheet right on your G9. And once this is saved, you can simply switch between the different kits, different songs, different tempos, just by clicking one slot. That's actually a pretty cool feature. Also have the PDF reader, an import tool, the shop where you can download additional sounds. We're not connected to the internet right now, so you can't see that. And you have the file manager, so if you want to import some files, that's done here. And once again, the red button is your home button that always brings you back. So that's basically it. That's all you need to know about the GEWA G9. In my personal opinion, it's a very beautiful drum kit. The drum shells are very well built. The hardware is very sturdy and very professional, and it's a lot of fun to just set the kit up because it's easy and it's just a high quality drum kit. The hardware is very good. The new finishes add a very nice touch to the series, and also having a floor tom with floor tom legs will make it feel even more like a regular acoustic drum kit. The module, however, you will need some time to get used to the menus, to all the setting options you have. For example, if you set the kit up, take some time, go through the trigger settings menu. Finding the right trigger settings for your own playing will really take the kit to the next level, and it will be a lot more fun to play once everything is responding just the way that you want it to. If all the options are too much for you, they also offer the G5. It's basically the same sounds, but the surface is different, and it's a little, they say it's a little easier to use, but that's up to you. Now that you know all those things about the G9, what is your impression? How do you like the sound? How do you like the interface? How do you like the pads and the look? Let us know in the comments, and see you in one of the next videos.